What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Justin. I hope everyone is having a great Friday. Today, we're going to piggyback off a little bit of what we did yesterday, which was basically saying what every AFC team should do in the offseason. But today, we are doing the NFC. We're going to talk about every team. We're going to look at their cap space, their players that they're losing in free agency, some free agents they could target, and then some potential draft picks. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please subscribe and comment down below who you want your team to bring in. And I hope you guys enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. So the first team we're going to talk about is the Arizona Cardinals. Brief look at the Cardinals here. They went 3-14 last year. They were 4th in the NFC West. They missed the playoffs. New head coach Mike LaFleur obviously was with the Rams as the offensive coordinator. They also got Nathaniel Hackett. They have $39.7 million in cap space, which is obviously a good cap space for them. And then they have the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft, which is really good. The main need for the Arizona Cardinals this offseason is a quarterback, so that's what we will look at. Potential players that I think they could get, maybe they sign Malik Willis. He's kind of like Kyler Murray, but I feel like that just be a lateral move, I guess. They do have Brissett. Will he play another year? We will see. But he's not bad when he played last year. But I really don't know what direction the Cardinals could go at quarterback. I personally think their best option is Tua. I just have a gut feeling Tua's going to go here. I could be wrong. I could be right. But I think that would logically make the most sense right now for Arizona. I think with their 3rd overall pick, they should take a top-notch player that would help their team instead of reaching for a quarterback. Maybe take a quarterback in round 2. But I think realistically, take an offensive lineman or an edge rusher. If you can get Ruben Bain, if you could get Francis Muega from Miami, that would really help you. Cardinals need a quarterback, offensive line, edge, safety, defensive lineman. Their outgoing free agents, players that they are losing, are Calais Campbell, Kyler Murray, obviously, Jalen Thompson, Will Hernandez, Kevin Beachum, Zay Jones, Michael Carter, Bam Knight, Greg Dortch. So not a lot of very, very good players, but there's some rotational players in there. So I think just the Cardinals, we could look at something for the defense too. Defensive line, they need to get better at as well. Let's see here. Let's look at some connections for that position. Maybe they bring in somebody like Roy Lopez, Kevin Givens, Fotu from the Texans, James Lynch from the Titans. I think the Cardinals should spend a lot of their money, though. They definitely have money to play with, and I think they should not reach in the draft for a quarterback. I think they need to bring in a veteran, either keep Brissett, maybe sign somebody like Tua, just sign somebody, a bridge quarterback. If they play good, they're your franchise. If not, you let the rookie come in later, but do not reach for a top-notch rookie. If you could get Francis or Irva Reese or Ruben Bain, do it. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons. They went 8-9. They were 3rd in the NFC South. They missed the playoffs. New GM, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. Obviously, Jeff Ulbrich stays there because he did a good job. But Falcons, I think they need a quarterback. Obviously, a lot of people think Penix is the answer. He's not, in my opinion, but people will think what they think. But this offensive core is good. I'm not going to act like it's not. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. That's honestly scary for a coach like Kevin Stefanski. I'm a little worried about that. But something that eases me is the Falcons only have $8 million in cap space. They need defensive line. They need a wide receiver, a corner, and a linebacker. Their defense played well last year. Their rookies played really, really good last year. So if you look at just a corner that they need, some Nashawn Wright, I think, is a really underrated player. He would fit that Atlanta scheme. Obviously, you got A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes right now. A.J. Terrell is obviously one of the best in the game. But the Falcons do not have their first-round pick. They traded that to the Rams. So they have to wait till the second round to pick. So it's going to be interesting to see if they trade up or if they stay at that spot, but they'll likely go another defensive stud. And yeah, I mean, they're going to roll with Penix. They'll probably bring in a quarterback, obviously releasing Kirk Cousins. Maybe they bring in somebody like, um, I don't even know, Jake Browning, just as a compliment. Russell Wilson, I don't even know. But I think they'll definitely bring somebody in because obviously Penix has been injury prone and he has not been playing well. So Atlanta is a interesting team, interesting situation. But I hope that Kyler Murray does not go here because I would be nervous about Kyler Murray in a Kevin Stefanski system with Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Kyle Pitts. All right, moving on. We have the 2025-2026 NFL NFC South champions, the Carolina Panthers. Dan Morgan, great GM, been here since 24 with Dave Canales since 2024. Little different for the Panthers and staff duties next year. Brad Isaac is going to start calling the plays for the Carolina Panthers, so Dave Canales can focus more on the whole team instead of just the offense. But if you ask me, Carolina, $9 million in cap space. We're going to make more, though. We have a couple players we're going to cut or trade over the next couple days. But the main thing the Panthers need is a linebacker. I have said this all year. We need a linebacker that will go sideline to sideline. And some players that I really want for this football team is Devin Lloyd and Leo Chanel and Nakobe Dean. If we sign one of those three players, I will be really happy. And I think Devin Lloyd has a really good chance to come here. Leo Chanel, Nakobe Dean, they're both only 26 years old, so they could sign a 4 or 5 year deal here. But I think Carolina, knowing Dan Morgan, playing linebacker, he is going to be very aggressive for one, especially when this is a very linebacker heavy free agency class. And then also Carolina, we could add a corner. J.C. Horn and Mike Jackson were the best corner duo in the NFL last year, but I think there's always room for improvement. If we don't draft Avion or Jermon McCoy or Delane, we could go with somebody like Reek Wallen at a good price. Maybe Kobe Durant at a good price. And then there's also a couple solid players here. Jaquan McMillan, I think he's going back to Denver, though. I'm not sure, though. Maybe Cam Taylor, but definitely take a look at that corner position for the Carolina Panthers. And then also edge rusher. I think that Nick Scorin and Princely, especially Nick, played well for their rookie year, but I think Carolina does need a veteran to complement them. So I think Trey Hendrickson would be a great signing. But if we don't want to throw that much money, we could go Boye Mafe, Kwity Paye, Arnold Ebigite from the Falcons. He's really good. Also, I did see that Zaire Franklin is up for trade from the Colts, and Bobby Okereke from the Giants. So those would be two good linebackers to bring in as well. But I think Carolina will not be too aggressive, but will be aggressive for a linebacker and edge rusher. And also, Carolina, we could also use another receiver. Tedaro McMillan's obviously our one. Coker's our two. Legette's got to get it going. I don't really want to wait on Legette. I believe in him, don't get me wrong, but he's got to step it up. Maybe we could bring in, I feel like Carolina needs a smaller receiver. So Jimmy Horn Jr., but another Jimmy Horn Jr., who's a veteran. So maybe somebody like Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Naylor, Romeo Dobbs was a target on my list earlier this offseason. So one of those players I think would really help the Carolina Panthers. And I think this is going to be a really good offseason for the Panthers. As far as the draft, it obviously depends on what we do in free agency. But Kenyon Sadiq is a popular pick. I've stated before, as I like our tight end room. I think Sadiq is just an athletic freak. He would bring another level to this offense. And then also Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Cassius Howell, Sony Styles, CJ Allen. Any of those players would desperately help the Carolina Panthers. Panthers are the best team in the NFL. But moving on, we have the Chicago Bears. Obviously 11-6, first in the NFC North. The team that was projected to finish last in their division won their division. So they had a really good year. Ben Johnson did an incredible job in his first one. They only have $8 million in cap space, but they will make some more. Some things that the Bears do need is some secondary help. They do need a safety. They just got rid of, well, Nashawn Wright is going to be a free agent unless they bring him back. But this is a heavy safety market. Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, both Bears are going to be free agents. Bears are losing a good amount of free agents, I'm pretty sure. terms of starters. Drew Dahlman, didn't he retire? He retired. DJ Moore, obviously, they traded him to Buffalo. And then you have all these players that have made somewhat of an impact on your team. But Chicago, I think they kind of need to have the mindset of make good moves, but don't be too aggressive. It is smart of them to trade DJ Moore because you have to give Luther Burden and Roma Dunze money off their rookie contracts in a year or two. So it's good that you got rid of older receiver, as good as DJ was, and then you also got a second round pick, so you got more picks to address other needs. So I don't think the Bears will be too aggressive in free agency. This is going to be a really aggressive team in the draft. So they definitely have a bright future. They just don't be too aggressive, but make moves enough to where you improve still. All right, next up we have the Dallas Cowboys. 7-9-1 last year. Get rid of Ty's Roger. They went second in the NFC East. Jerry Jones has been their general manager since '89. Holy cow. Schottenheimer, first year, he didn't do that bad. This team needs a good amount. I think looking at their team, they re-signed Javonte Williams to a deal. Pickens and Lamb were probably the best wide receiver duo last season. Pickens, you need to give a new contract. And I think the offense is good. I really do. I would like the Cowboys with their, well, they have 2 draft picks this year. I forgot. With that 20 overall, I would like the Cowboys to draft a quarterback. So when Dak Prescott, because he's like 33 years old, he's almost done playing. Get a quarterback now, maybe Cade or Garrett, and let him sit behind Dak for a year or two and then start him. I think that would be the smart, strategic thing for Dallas to do, but, they don't think like that. And then I don't really think they need a wide receiver at all. They do need some defense, pretty much everything, something at every spot on the defense. I think Quay Walker would be a good team for the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, they just got Kenny Clark, so that would be his teammate. Also, if you look, this is a really good linebacker free agency, and I'm definitely excited for it, considering that a lot of teams need a linebacker, but they also need an edge since they lost Michael Parsons, so there's definitely plenty of options to do that. This is just the top 55, so there are so many chances for them to get a edge rusher, and then defensively, they could also use a safety. So the Cowboys really need a lot. They have only $9 million, so I don't think they're going to be too aggressive, but I think they should be. Detroit Lions, their core is starting to fall apart a little bit. Taylor Decker is going to be released from the Lions after contract arguments. I know he's 33 years old, but he's a really good player. I think the Lions could do kind of the same thing what I just said about the Cowboys in round 2, draft a quarterback for the future. They are negative $6 million in cap space, so they got to fix that. But this team is obviously good, I think. Their offense looks good. Defensively, I think you just need to upgrade the linebacker position. Secondary too. Defensive line. So just some spots on the defense. And you can maybe also bring in another receiver to kind of be a cheap deal. Maybe somebody like Darnell Mooney. He would fit that team really good. Linebacker, we've seen him. There's plenty of options. A lot of teams will be able to get a good linebacker this free agency. They definitely need one. Detroit, obviously got to go a little cheaper here. Maybe Devin Bush. Maybe Justin Sherrod. Okereke would be a solid option. So there's Detroit. It's going to be decently aggressive, but they got to get cap space first before they really do anything. But 17th is a good pick. They have a good amount of picks, so I just think that they should draft a quarterback so when Jared Goff does start regressing or retires, they have an option there. Green Bay Packers, a weird situation with them today. Rashawn Gary put out on Instagram basically like a thank you and that he's leaving post, but then there was no signs of him being released or traded from Green Bay, so it kind of got everybody all confused. But Green Bay 9-7-1 last year. They lost in the wild card, a game they should have won. They know they should have won. And again, go get a receiver. This should be Green Bay's number 1 priority for the 5th offseason in a row. I would be losing patience with Green Bay if I was a fan. Go get somebody like Mike Evans, 33 years old. Give him a 2-year, $35 million deal or something like that. Go get, that's really the only elite guy in here. Maybe sign Alec Pierce, but I just wouldn't fit. Um, Go all in for Mike Evans if you're Green Bay. You should be a Super Bowl contender. Act like it. And then they desperately need corner. Um, this is a really not the greatest corner duo. So obviously Nashawn Wright is an option for a lot of teams. Cordell Flott, Josh Jobs. I wouldn't mind to see Green Bay sign 2 or 3 of these corners. They do have they don't have a first round pick, so they will be able to get a corner in the second round. But Green Bay, I mean, they just got to get a wide receiver. This has been a need for so long. Also, Jonathan Gannon, Cardinals head coach, he took the defensive coordinator job for Green Bay, so it's going to be interesting to see how he does there. But main priority for Green Bay should be a wide receiver. I don't care what you say about the 3 they have now. Go get a better wide receiver, a legit wide receiver one. These teams are all AFC. By the way, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my AFC video. I posted it yesterday. It should be there. If you haven't already, please subscribe and comment down below what player you want your team to get this offseason. Next up, Minnesota Vikings. They went 9-8, third in their division. They missed the playoffs. This team won like their last 4 or 5 games. Their main question is a quarterback. And if you're asking me, I think it's Kyler Murray or Tua that they bring in. Or not Tua. Kyler Murray or who's the other option? Where is he? Kirk Cousins. I think I could see Kirk Cousins a reunion there, but I think I have a gut feeling Kyler Murray's going there. I just have a weird feeling about that one. Obviously, not giving up on JJ McCarthy, but considering that this is technically a Super Bowl caliber, for the most part, roster, you need to act on your team and get a quarterback. Aaron Jones isn't going to be there anymore, so they're going to need a running back. And I think a perfect fit for the Minnesota Vikings would be Rico Dowdle. I think he would fit that team really, really well. He'd get running back 1 carries or Tyler Algier, somebody like that. Maybe even Kamani Vidal. But yeah, so there's options there for the Vikings at running back. You could also get a wide receiver if you don't bring back Jordan Naylor, maybe Romeo Dobbs, bring in Debo Samuel, somebody like that can, play solid football. Maybe they make a move for Tyreek Hill. But I feel like, oh boy, -46. I forgot. Never mind. Vikings fans, pray. Just pray. That's my advice. All right, moving on. We have the technical difficulty team. Okay. We have the New Orleans Aints. This team went 6-11. They were 4th in the NFC South. Losers. Mickey Loomis, their GM since 2002. I don't know how he's still employed, but he is. Kellen Moore did good in his first year, I think, unfortunately for me. Brandon Staley, defensive coordinator. Saints, they have $20 million in cap space. First offseason in a while that they actually have money. They desperately need a wide receiver. I think Kamara will get traded, hopefully. He should request one, but if he doesn't, it's up to him. But they definitely need a wide receiver. You cannot enter next season with Devon Vale and Jalen Polk as your 2 and 3. But, it's not up to me. Their offensive line is relatively young. Talise Fuega is 24 years old. And Kelvin Banks Jr. played really, really well last year. Looking at the defense young in some spots too. But this team just needs to kind of look at any deal. They really need a wide receiver that can potentially fit that team. Wouldn't it be funny if they got Mike Evans? I could see them signing somebody like Debo Samuel. They just need somebody to pair with Chris Olave. They need a kind of big name. And then defensively, a corner. There's a lot of options there, like we've stated before. Alontae Taylor is a big name, though. I think he's very underrated. I don't think the Saints will bring him back. Maybe they'll replace him with somebody like Reek, Cordell, Josh, Greg, Trayvon. We'll have to see what happens with Trayvon Diggs, but maybe he goes to wherever his brother goes. They're both free agents. So Saints are interesting because this is the first. They have the 8th overall pick. So we'll have to see what they do with that. Could be a best player there situation. Tyler Shuck, they think, is their franchise quarterback, even though he's 27 years old. So we'll see what happens there. If the Saints could get a quarterback for cheap, I wouldn't be surprised if they did it. like to complement Tyler Shuck. But we will see. The Saints are the Saints. I obviously hope they don't have a good offseason, but they are kind of in position to. So we'll have to see if they relatively use their resources. This is a team that I believe will have a great offseason. The Giants went 4-13 last year. They missed the playoffs, but this team's future is very bright. They now have John Harbaugh, Matt Nagy, terrible offensive coordinator. Joe Sheenan is a bad GM in my opinion. Besides drafting, he has not much there. But offense, you have Jackson Dart, Cam Skadaboo, Malik Neighbors, three very good young players. But you do need another wide receiver, especially because Wan'Dale Robinson, who was a good player, is leaving. You got to upgrade the offensive line a lot too, if you ask me. Defensively, you need secondary. Um, actually, yeah, this defense isn't terrible though. I still think this group can be up upgraded a bit. Adebo and Holland aren't bad. Newman is okay. Phillips is okay. Linebacker is a huge need too. So maybe linebackers for the New York Giants. Obviously, they're moving on from Bobby. Maybe they get somebody like Chanel, Dean, Quay Walker. We'll look more down the list here. Jack Thompson hopefully goes back to the Panthers. EJ Speed is a good name too. Ivan Pace Jr., he's underrated from the Vikings. I sign him a lot in Madden. But yeah, that's the Giants for the linebacker. And then in the draft, they have the 5th overall pick, so they'll be able to get another good young player as they have previously in the draft. Carnell Tate would be great for this team. Caleb Downs too, if they could get Caleb Downs in that safety rotation, but ideally they probably need Spencer or Francis as a tackle. Replace James Hudson. Andrew Thomas is really good. This interior is really bad too, so just kind of upgrade the offensive line if you're the Giants. Get another weapon for offense, and then build on a bit in the secondary and linebacker for the defensive side of the ball. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Giants' best friend. They have $12 million in cap space. Biggest question, will A.J. Brown be an Eagle next year? I personally do not think so, knowing Howie Roseman. He's going to get traded near the draft. I think after free agency, a team who did not get a wide receiver they wanted in free agency will make a trade, an aggressive trade for A.J. Brown. But this team has the 23rd overall pick. I know there's a lot of talk about Dallas Goedert not coming back, so they definitely have to replace tight end. I think Dallas Goedert was an underrated player. A player I could see fitting the Eagles is Chigakwanku. If he really leaves Tennessee, he will be dangerous in Philadelphia. He's a player that I'm really high on. Travis Kelce, imagine, man. David Njoku would be a good option for the Eagles, too. He's really good. But this is a really tight end heavy free agency, I think. There's a lot of underrated names in there that could start on a team, if not be a 2 tight end rotation system. But Kenyon Sadiq to the Eagles would be insane. I think Kenyon Sadiq is one of the best players from this draft, and I don't think he leaves the top 10. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, could be wrong. But also for the Eagles, they have a really good young defense containing a lot of Bulldogs. I think Jalen Carter was a Bulldog, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis. Jalen Carter was Alabama or Georgia. I can't remember. Jaheed Campbell was Georgia, I'm pretty sure. A lot of Georgia Bulldogs on this defense, Nolan Smith. But I think they could add another linebacker. I think their secondary is solid. Maybe get a safety just for complement. But this Eagles team is still solid on paper. Nick Cross would be a good option. Jaquan Brisker from the Bears. Maybe they bring in Kevin Byard on a cheap deal. Alawi Goman from the Ravens. Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are still a good team, even though they lost in the wild card, and they definitely still have a lot of promise. All right, moving on, we have the Seattle Seahawks. They won the Super Bowl 14-3, but something crazy about this team is if you look at their roster, they are still very young, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And then they have one of the most cap space in the NFL. They have just about $60 million, so it is really impressive with how John Snyder has done building this team. Because considering they just won the Super Bowl with a very dominant defense, they still have a lot of money, and they have a lot of room to bring in more players. Obviously, I think they should bring in another wide receiver to complement JSN. Cooper Kupp wasn't too bad last year, But is he going to play again next year? Maybe, maybe not. He probably will. But look at this defense. Witherspoon, 26 years old. Nicoman Warrior, 22. Um, Mike Morris, 20. A lot of these players on this defense are really young. So there's a couple spots that Seattle has to replace. I know they're losing some players. Boye Mafe, Kenneth Walker, Rashid Shaheed. Those three are really good. And these guys are solid. But there's definitely a lot of opportunity for the Seattle Seahawks to continue to improve with the money that they have and the advantage of not having to pay their best players a lot of money because they are on rookie contracts. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They went 8-9, second in the NFC South. Who was first? Oh yeah, the Carolina Panthers. They're losing Mike Evans. He's definitely leaving. Jamal Dean, K-Dot, and a lot of these players have been on the Bucs for a while. They're going to need a running back with Rachaad White leaving outside of Bucky Irving. But wide receiver is going to be a big need for this team. Chris Godwin is a trade candidate, I think. Or not a big need. Egbuka and McMillan aren't bad. But I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in another wide receiver. Maybe like, I don't know, Calvin Austin or somebody decent like Darnell Mooney, Isaiah Hodgins. Just somebody that will do the job when they get the ball. But then their main needs are on defensive side of the ball. They need an edge rusher, a linebacker, and a corner. I would say mainly a linebacker. That's their biggest need. So if you look at the players that they could bring in, a lot of options again. Quincy Williams, Devin Bush. Hopefully they bring in Keir Thomas. That's who I want them to bring in. But Tampa Bay, $20 million in cap space. Last year went the exact opposite of how they wanted it to end, and I am very surprised that they hired Zach Robinson as their offensive coordinator, considering how bad of a job he did in Atlanta. But Tampa Bay, they have some money, and we'll have to see what they do with it. Now, finally, we got the Washington Commanders. By the way, if you guys want to try this website out yourself, take a look at it. It's NFL.com/IQ. I could put the link in the description for you. Commanders, they need defense, I would say. Their team was older this year. They need a wide receiver. They also need a tight end. This is a good tight end free agency class, as I've said before. I could see Isaiah Likely going here. That's definitely something, player that they could consider. They have a lot of money, $70 million. So the Commanders get a lot of good young players that will improve your team. The Commanders will be a playoff team next year if they play this right. Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. Terry McLaurin's going to be there the rest of his career. Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt played well. But defense, obviously, like I said, the main problem this year was age and injuries. That has an opportunity to go away when you have $70 million in cap space and the options you have. There are a lot of good linebackers in this free agency that you can target. And the Commanders, if they are smart, like I said, will be back to where they were next season. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please comment down below what you want your team to do in the offseason or anything like that. Hope you guys enjoy this video. No video, obviously, over the weekend. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will all be NFL free agency reaction videos. So make sure you stay tuned for that. I will let you guys know on every single deal. So if you're not already, please subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good weekend.